The fans in Conseco Fieldhouse saw more regular season victories than any other team in the Eastern Conference this year. Playoff-wise, same story. 7 straight. But now it's time for the Eastern Conference Finals, and in come the Detroit Pistons.
The Indiana Pacers, the 2-time All-Star, the NBA Defensive Player of the Year, the veteran with the fire and determination of his younger self, and the leader coaching against his former team. The Detroit Pistons, their offensive machine, their defensive tandem, and the Hall of Fame coach on a mission. Tonight, the 2 best in the East begin their battle. The prize, a chance to play for an NBA championship. It's the Pistons and the Pacers, Game 1 next.
This is basketball country. In Indianapolis at Conseco Fieldhouse, it is Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It's the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers. A sold-out crowd at full throat already. The Pacers took 3 of 4 from the Pistons during the regular season. We'll find out if the playoffs is a different story. Welcome, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler with Doc Rivers. Michelle Tafoya and Jim Gray will join us as well. Doc, this is the way it was supposed to be. Top 2 seeds, best records in the East, 61 and 54 victories respectively. It all comes down now to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's talk about the home team. Pacers haven't lost 7 straight playoff wins, 8 straight games in all. They won 34 here during the regular season. Great blend of youth, experience, offense, and defense.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, this team is well put together. You start with the center spot in Jermaine O'Neal. He's the key to this basketball team. He anchors their defense, and you can go to him down on the post on offense, and he's always key for this team. And then you move over to Ron Artest. You really think about these 2 guys as their 2 all-stars, but then you never can forget about Reggie Miller. No longer an all-star, but I guarantee you he scares everyone in Detroit in these playoffs.
I mentioned that 3 of 4 times the Pacers won games this year. That 4th time was the only time the Pistons had Rasheed Wallace. And you're going to get sick of me saying Wallace and Wallace for the next week and a half.
The law firm of Wallace and
right.
Wallace. They're amazing. You know, when they added Rasheed, it made them go from good to great defensively. They're already a very good defensive basketball team. Now they are a great defensive basketball team, and Rasheed Wallace gives them a post presence offensively also. Very dynamic duo, very tough matchup for anyone.
It's time to fire it up in Indianapolis. And I don't mean the engines for the Indy 500. I mean Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pistons and the Pacers. Great players on both sides, offensively, defensively. Who's going to win Game 1? We're going to tip it off when we come back.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Brought to you by Bud Light. Fresh, smooth, real. It's all here. KFC's new oven-roasted strips meal. So every day is Ladies' Day in Chicken Capital, USA. Adidas Basketball. Impossible is nothing. And Nissan, who invites you to ship the way you move through the world.
Back in Indianapolis, tonight's game presented on ESPN in high definition. It was a sweltering day in Indianapolis. It's about to get hot in Conseco Fieldhouse. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And now for the Bud Light starting lineups in his 28th season as a public address announcer of the Pacers. Here's Reb Porter.
Now here's the starting lineup for tonight's opponents from Detroit, Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, the Detroit Pistons. Starting at 1 forward for Detroit, number 22, Tayshaun Prince. At the other forward, number 30, Rasheed Wallace. Starting at center for the Pistons, number 3, Ben Wallace. At 1 guard for Detroit, number 1, Chauncey Billups. And at the other guard, number 32, Richard Hamilton. the head coach, Larry Brown, the Detroit Pistons. some noise. Six men, it's time to go to work. Now let's meet your Indiana Pacers. Starting at one forward, number 7, Jermaine O'Neal. At the other forward, number 23, Ron Artest. At center, number 10, Jeff Foster. At one guard, number 11, Jamal Tinsley. And at the other guard, number 31, Reggie Miller. The head coach, Rick Carlisle, your Indiana Pacers.
And obviously the subplots of Rick Carlisle coaching against the team that won 2 Central Division titles under him, the Detroit Pistons. Also joining us, third member of our team. Let's go right now to Michelle Tafoya.
All right, Brad. Well, Rasheed Wallace is still nursing plantar fasciitis in his left arch. Larry Brown told me earlier he doesn't know how Wallace is going to respond to that on just 1 day's rest, and that's going to be a concern throughout this series. Meanwhile, Tayshaun Prince is nursing a bruised ego, or psyche, rather. He shot the ball well against Milwaukee in the first round, but really struggled in the second round versus New Jersey. Larry Brown told me he must make Ron Artest respect his shot, Tayshaun Prince. Otherwise, things are going to be very difficult for everyone around him. Now over to Jim Gray, who's covering Indiana.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. Well, the major subplot in this series is Larry Brown having replaced Rick Carlisle as head coach of the Pistons in the offseason. I spoke to Carlisle about it, and he said he's moved on. He's totally over it. He said, hey, look, I don't have any animosity toward any of those players, the management, or the owner, or Joe Dumars. In fact, I'm very grateful to them for them having given me an opportunity. He says, if you're replaced by a Hall of Famer like Larry Brown, it's understandable. I asked Larry Brown about it. We spoke to him. He said, the reasons the Pistons are successful started with Rick. He set me a great foundation. Brad?
And, of course, though it's been more years removed, keep in mind that Larry Brown coached the Pacers for 4 seasons.
Yeah, Brad, it's really interesting, though, when you look at Rick Carlisle and what he did with the Detroit Pistons, and now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he's coaching another basketball team. And, you know, he's such a classy guy. He takes the high road, and that's the way you should take. You know, though, deep down, he wants to win. Probably no animosity, but he wants to beat this team. There's no doubt about that, for a lot of reasons.
He's the first coach to take 2 different teams to conference finals in consecutive years. Bernie Fryer, Mike Callahan, Ken Maurer, our officials. Eastern Conference Finals Game 1 at Conseco Fieldhouse is set. O'Neal and Ben Wallace to get it started. The Pistons will touch it first. Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton considered the better of the backcourts in this matchup. We'll see if that proves true over the next week and a half. The big fella with a hook shot to open. He's been much more offensive-minded in the last series, but he missed his opener.
Yeah, I think Larry Brown's made a nice move with Ben Wallace, giving him the ball, you know, letting him feel the ball. As hard as he works off defensively, he should get some touches offensively.
Artest goes all the way up And Hamilton with a rebound. Hamilton, the leading scorer in the playoffs for the Pistons, and he misses his first offering. Tinsley's been pretty smooth, Doc, at the point position for the Pacers throughout the playoffs. Artest draws the first foul of the ball game.
Yeah, I think Tinsley's been the unsung hero through the playoffs. He's the guy that gets them in their sets. He's not turning the ball over. He's playing within himself, which is really important. Now, you've already seen what the Pacers are going to do. They're going to take Tayshaun Prince down on the post, and they're going to try to post him up with Artest, and Artest is already on the foul line.
And while Tayshaun Prince is the longer of the two, the muscle definitely belongs to the guy at the free throw line.
Yeah, but you look at these two teams, and you look at Detroit, and you look at them with power, with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace, but they're really an outside shooting basketball team. And then you look at the Pacers, they're long and they're lean, but they're an inside post team. So that's going to be the play in this series. If the Pistons can shoot it well from the outside, or if the Pacers can pound the Pistons inside.
Artest is becoming more and more an offensive force for this team as the first 2 points of the ballgame. Here's the matchup on the other end. Artest on Prince. 7 on the shot clock. Tayshaun looking for a screen and got it. And there's the first foul against the Pacers.
Well, one thing I guarantee you, you're going to hear a lot of is a whistle. And it's going to be a foul call because both of these teams are great defensive teams. And you don't play great defense without fouling a couple of times.
Both of these teams have their superstitions, and one of them, people were asking Larry Brown whether he'd wear a tie to this ball game. He said, I didn't wear one last time, and I had kind of a Carolina blue golf shirt on. It worked pretty well in our last series. I think that's pretty much what he has on tonight. O'Neal on the baseline. Jermaine O'Neal, their leading scorer in the regular season. Artest, the leading scorer in the playoffs. Those two have the first 4 for the Pacers. Phillips gave up a 3 and worked to the elbow for that one.
Yeah, that's just his size. Phillips knows with his size, he can always get his shot off. So that's something we should watch in this series also.
Reggie Miller cuts to the basket, and Ben Wallace rejects that shot. The 33rd block shot just of the playoffs for Big Ben.
He's been dominant in the playoffs offensively.
Nice inbound to Artest. He missed with the left hand. Tayshaun Prince is happy, and now Prince running the other way, trying to beat him to the goal. Lost the handle.
Yeah, the pass is too late. He ran out of court, and that's what made him bobble the ball.
Tinsley gives it up. Artest has really improved as a three-point shooter. This one's in and out. And it's Wallace with the rebound. And stolen by Tinsley. Tinsley takes it in off the glass. That's what he's done so well throughout the playoffs. Not a big score, but he sets up his team, and he had 3 games against Miami where he had 3 steals or more.
Yeah, he has great hands. You know, he's been maligned about his foot quickness, but his hands keeps him out of trouble because he's able to reach and anticipate.
They give Wallace the open look outside, and he buries it.
Well, they're going to keep giving him that look, and if he keeps burying it, that's fine. I think Rick Carlisle will take that.
You don't expect Ben Wallace is going to beat you from 17, right?
You don't, but you're starting to.
You're starting to believe. Jermaine O'Neal, whose range continues to increase. Tinsley wide open. And the rebound, Artest. And he missed the in close again with a stick back.
Well, he's just so strong right now. You can see Tayshaun Prince really struggling with his power.
Pistons with an opportunity to tie this trip if that shot goes, and it does. Chauncey Billups ties it at 6.
See, again, Billups likes this matchup because as good as Tinsley is with the hands, he knows once he gets the ball above his shoulders, there's nothing Tinsley can do about it.
Reggie Miller trying to run off a screen, and Rip Hamilton, who told us today he emulates what Reggie has done over his years. He's watched him so closely, and that time he ran in front of the screen and knocked it away.
Yeah, it's Reggie playing Reggie, really. I mean, these two guys play exactly alike. The only difference is Rip is not a great three-point shooter, but movement without the ball, you look at both these guys, best in the game.
Reggie runs around another one, and Hamilton there to meet him. 5 on the shot clock. Reggie might have to let fly anyway. Gives it up to O'Neal. Rasheed Wallace got in the way of that one. Would have been a shot clock violation. It's the 4th rebound already for Wallace. Billups working his magic and going to go to the free throw line.
See, again, you can see Billups knowing if I get it deep enough, I can attack the basket, I can get it above the shoulders, and there's nothing they can do because I'm bigger than the guy guarding me.
Chauncey Billups averaged a career high just under 17 points during the regular season. Is at 16-4, as you see, during the playoffs. And he has his 5th point. Which team was the all-time champion? Jordan's Bulls, Bird's Celtics, Wilt's Sixers maybe, against Magic's Lakers. Cast your vote in the semifinal matchups, the all-time finals challenge on NBA.com.
I already have.
You already
I've cast your vote?
my vote?
Yes. I'm not going to say.
You're not telling anybody.
It's a secret.
First lead for the Pistons. Detroit on a 6-0 run in the last minute and a half. That time Reggie got around the pick, but immediately Hamilton got on him. He'll take the shot anyway, and it's off the mark. Foster on the offensive glass. Wallace with his 2nd block shot. Pistons trying to take the big crowd out of it early, and they have here on 6 straight points. Foster saves it on the baseline. Nice hustle. Ron Artest thinking about going through a double team. Does, but he missed the shot. Got his own rebound and scored.
That's just, again, being more powerful. Tayshaun Prince actually had better position and was basically thrown out of the way with the power of Artest.
Indiana had missed its last 6 shots before Artest ties it at 8. Hamilton over Reggie Miller. And in and out.
And Reggie Miller is doing a great job of chasing Rip Hamilton right now.
How long can he chase him?
Yeah,
38.
That's the one area people are really concerned with when you talk about the Pacers and their defense.
This time Rasheed Wallace changes O'Neal's shot, and now it's Billups who's the offensive catalyst so far with 8 points early of the Pistons' 10. Reggie Miller looking for a foul call. Doesn't get it.
I'm glad that they didn't call that. You know, that used to be an automatic foul call. Now the refs are going away from that. They're saying if you throw your body into the defender, we're not just going to give you a foul anymore. And I think that's a good no call.
Neither team being given anything so far. 10-8 Pistons early. Larry Brown and Rick Carlisle. Quite a matchup as well. We'll talk more about that when we come back to Indy in a moment.
Hello, New Jersey. The Detroit Pistons and the New Jersey Nets will start the Eastern Conference Finals.
With 2 years remaining on his contract in Philly, Brown stepped down today.
Rick Carlisle is out as coach of the Detroit Pistons, fired despite 2 straight division titles.
When you're fired at the peak of your success, there's cause for excitement as well.
Rick Carlisle out in Detroit, replaced by the man he beat in the Eastern Conference semifinals, Larry Brown.
I know I will do everything I can every single day to make it better.
Both of our coaches had different addresses last year. Pretty ironic that they would square off now here in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, pretty ironic, but what we all expected. I mean, when you look at these 2 teams before the season on paper, you almost had to make a guess that this is who would face each other in the East, and so they are.
In a playoff series, you see both coaches facing their old teams, only the 3rd time it's happened. Reggie Miller feeds the post to O'Neal. He'll take the turnaround over Rasheed Wallace. Pacers have 13 missed shots and have been blocked 5 times. So they're shooting not off to a good start.
Yeah, Reggie Miller is not only a great offensive player, he's a great actor. And right there, he really sold the flop. He runs into Rasheed Wallace, which I thought was a pretty good screen, and gets away with it and gets a foul. He's a smart player also. You don't play this many years and is not a very smart player. He is.
As Rip Hamilton told us today, he knows all the tricks. He said, I'm still trying to learn them.
He's got them pretty good.
Yeah, he does. He's in the middle of that pack at the elbow, looking to run around O'Neal. He does get the inbounds, but they'll drop it off to Tinsley. 5:40 to go first quarter, and the Pistons in front by 2. Ron Artest with Tayshaun Prince on him, drives with a left hand. Boy, he's been inside plenty of times. He just can't finish. Prince going the other way, and he scores.
Yeah, one thing about Prince, they talked about how his confidence is down, and it is down a little bit. And I was talking to Larry Brown before the game. He said the one thing he does know about Tayshaun, it doesn't take but 1 or 2 shots to go in, and then he thinks he's the best in the world. So that could be the start of something.
Well, last year he played very little or scored very little in the regular season, and then the playoffs began, and he was one of the stars for Detroit last year in his rookie season out of Kentucky.
Yeah, I had a lot to do with that. You know, I was coaching the Orlando Magic at the time, and we had the Pistons down. They bring in Tayshaun Prince. He turns the series around. He goes from that to being a go-to guy in the playoffs last year, and that is the reason that they didn't draft Carmelo Anthony. You know, they looked at Tayshaun and said, hey, listen,
we already have one.
Reggie Miller at the free throw line. He might as well just rack those up. 89% free throw shooter in his playoff career. That's his 2,724th playoff points. But he's been around 17 years, and he's still looking for a championship. That's a long wait. He knows he isn't going to get too many more cracks, and his young teammates know that too. Don't forget.
Yeah, they do. I think there is absolutely a sense of urgency for Reggie Miller. I mean, everybody wants to win a title, but I think these young guys want to win one for Reggie.
Reggie cuts the Pistons lead to 2. Phillips was feeling it. Tayshaun Prince keeps it alive. Wallace jam. Straight down the middle for Big Ben. First offensive rebound for the Pistons was Tayshaun Prince's, and it immediately becomes an assist to Ben Wallace. Foster, they leave him wide open. He had one big game against Miami, career highs of 20 points and 16 rebounds, but he's not a big scorer.
No, he's not, but he's a nice role player, and he's going to have to be effective, or they're going to be able to get away with flooding Jermaine O'Neal and limiting his catch.
Oh, Hamilton, I didn't think he had enough room on the baseline to score that one.
See, that's the advantage he knows he has over Reggie Miller. They both play the same game, but he knows he has a quickness advantage and can take them off the dribble.
Pacers have missed 12 of their last 13 shots. They find themselves down by 6 at home here in game 1. Hamilton working against Miller, and Reggie knocks it away from behind. It almost came up with a steal, but Jermaine O'Neal couldn't handle it on the baseline.
Yeah, Brad, you can see Rip really didn't want that screen. He thought he could beat Reggie on his own. He actually was trying to get the screen to go out of the way because it brought more traffic.
So the Pistons have opened up a 6-point lead here in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Big Ben going straight down the pipe. 16-10 Detroit.
Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in hockey. Bill Davidson, he owns the Pistons and the Tampa Bay Lightning. He went with the Lightning tonight. Good call, because right there, Frederick Modin makes it 2-0 Lightning. But the Flyers battle back. Kim Janssen, the goal here. Stephen A., of course, covering this game. 2-1 your score right now. We'll keep you updated. Brad?
All right, fellas, here it's Detroit leading by 6, and sometimes you have to travel around the NBA to become a star. You don't necessarily become one in one spot. That's the case with Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups. Much traveled. Bullets first, undrafted out of Virginia Union, then Orlando. Came to Detroit in the Grant Hill transaction. How about Chauncey Billups? Started off in Boston and Toronto, then Denver and Orlando. Doc said he never even saw him in a uniform down there. Then on to Minnesota, starting point guard for a time, and now
They are two of the mainstays for the Detroit Pistons.
You know, it's a great example, and more in Chauncey's case than Ben. Ben needed time to grow, and he did. Chauncey needed the right fit, you know. He played everywhere he went, just didn't fit perfect. This is a perfect fit for the way he plays, and that's why he's playing so well.
And on cue, he knocks down a three. He has been definitely the right fit for the Pistons in this opening quarter.
You know, people didn't know if he was a point guard or a two guard. They kept moving him around to both spots, and now, obviously, he's proven that he can play the point guard position.
He's got 11 points. It's an 11-2 run right now. That just got stopped by Jermaine O'Neal. They've got to get Jermaine O'Neal more involved right now.
Yeah, they really do. They really do, because most of his touches have come on afterthoughts. That was out of a zone. Detroit came out to play the zone, which is interesting because Larry Brown really does not like playing zone, but it's been effective.
Look at this matchup. Artest on Rip Hamilton, and he couldn't get that big body around the screen, and Rip knocks down the jumper.
I think it's a tough matchup for Artest. Rip Hamilton is the guy that moves without the ball. Artest does great defense on the ball, so I think it's a very difficult matchup for Ron Artest.
In the last series, Artest played the rookie sensation of Miami, Dwayne Wade, a lot, but that's a guy that isn't as slithery as Rip Hamilton and isn't as experienced, obviously.
And Wade's a guy that gets most of his points off the dribble. You see, you look at Rip Hamilton, he doesn't touch the ball until he shoots the ball. Catch and shoot. That's what makes him so effective.
And boy, when he gets in a groove, look out. So Rip has 4, 11 for Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace with 4. Now Jermaine O'Neal, the leading scorer, with 4 for the Pacers at the free throw line.
And you look at the Pacers and you see 12 points. I look at the fact that they've had great shots. So if you're Rick Carlisle, you're not that upset. You're not making shots. You're not playing well right now, but you're getting good shots. Artest, how many? 4?
One for 8, and I bet 4 of them at least were within 3 feet, right? O'Neal got both free throws. 6 for Jermaine. It's a 7-point game with 2.5 to go first quarter. Pistons on less rest definitely have come to play on the road. Billups again working around Johnson this time and draws a foul.
Brad, we were talking about it in the break. You don't see Chauncey Billups come out this aggressive usually. You know, usually he kind of gets everyone else involved and then interjects himself into the game. He's come out in this game thus far extremely aggressive, trying to score almost every time he's touched the ball, and he's been effective by doing it.
Remember last year in the playoffs, he was playing with that sprained ankle that really hampered him throughout the playoffs. Off to a great start here with more on Chauncey. Here's Michelle.
Yeah, Larry Brown told us earlier it's a rare quality when you're not afraid to fail, as Chauncey is. You have a tendency to be able to step up. It's about not being afraid to fail. He says sometimes to a fault with Chauncey because he'll take shots and settle too soon, but in most cases, as we've seen in his playoffs, that lack of fear of failing has really helped Chauncey Billups.
Certainly not failing in the first quarter.
No, and what Michelle was saying also is that's what enables him to make big shots.
Absolutely.
Because he believes that he's going to make those shots.
As Reggie Miller does for the Pacers. Here's Bender off the Pacers bench, and he knocks down a 3. Jonathan Bender.
This young guy is starting to come into his own. You know, he reminds me a lot of Tracy McGrady when you look at his body. He also, his career so far, reminds me a lot of Jermaine O'Neal. Young is taking time, and there's Rip Hamilton again off a screen.
You know, right now it's the Indy 500, but Ron Artest's stock car and Rip Hamilton's Indy Series. He just ran around that screen, and Artest just couldn't get that body around there, and they've done that twice now in the last 3 trips down court. Harrington with a chance to add 1.
See, the thing I like about the Indiana bench is his energy. Bender brings energy. Al Harrington is their energy. So it's a good match bringing these two guys in off the bench. You look at Jonathan Bender starting to make the 3 with his length, and he able to take guys off the dribble and get Harrington attacking the basket. That's what they need.
Even though they're down by 6, the Pacers starting to pick up the pace, and their bench has been sensational in the playoffs, especially the first round. They went to sleep a little bit against Miami, but in the first round against the Celtics, their reserves were sensational. Hamilton's now got Johnson on him, so a switch has been made there with Artest now on Corliss Williamson. And here's a foul as Wallace takes it to the rack, and Bender will pick up the foul.
You know, I'm looking at Jonathan Bender, and he's upset a little bit at the foul, but it's a good foul. You cannot allow Ben Wallace to get dunks. You would rather for him to go to the free throw line.
Where he's shooting 49%.
Good foul, and now he has to shoot free throws. Exactly. Which means he'll make both.
He probably will now that I've said that. 49% on the regular season for Ben was a career high. 48% so far here in the playoffs. Right on cue.
Yeah.
There you go, Ben.
He is shooting the ball. We watched him shoot before the game. And, you know, obviously sometimes the results aren't great, but his shot is looking good. It really is.
Got one of two. Harrington clears the glass. 6-point game. Final minute. Quarter number one. Artest going against Prince. Will drop it off to Harrington for the jam underneath. Nice extra pass by Artest. Tayshaun Prince ends up in a pileup.
Yeah, that's about the third pileup he's been in. Every time Artest gets the ball on an ISO, he takes advantage of Tayshaun Prince right now. Just too strong.
Williamson throws it away. Johnson bringing it the other way. The crowd on its feet. Final half minute of the first quarter. Bender leaning in, leaning too much, or did he travel?
He did. I thought he took that extra step before he got to contact. I think that's an excellent call. Watch down low. 1, 2. That third step is why you had to call it.
First turnover by the Pacers in the ball game. In the regular season game they lost to Detroit, they turned it over 21 times.
Well, Rick Carlisle said they can't turn the ball over. That's giving the Pistons points that they normally wouldn't get. We cannot give them easy hoops.
Eldon Campbell trying to post up Austin Crozier. And they turn it over.
Yeah. I tell you, again, Rick Carlisle goes to his bench. He brings in all these energy guys, and it's turned the atmosphere around in this arena.
Now the Pacers with an opportunity for the final score of the quarter, and if they get it, everybody that's standing will continue to stand. Final 5 seconds of the quarter. Artest against Wallace. Top two defenders the last 2 years. Good job by James to knock it away, and nobody got a shot off.
And great switch by Larry Brown, putting Ben Wallace on Artest for the final shot.
Pistons had a big lead of 9 at 23-14, but the Pacers close out the quarter on an 8-3 run. End of one. Pistons 26, Pacers 22. Our aerial coverage courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. That's fleet of airships reminding you to enjoy the drive on Goodyear's new Assurance tires. Brad Nessler, Doc Rivers, Michelle Tafoya, Jim Gray in Indianapolis. The Boom Babies, I tell you, youth has been served with this franchise, the Indiana Pacers. You talk about Jermaine O'Neal. If you can believe it, he's in his 8th year in the league, and he's only 25 years old out of Eau Claire High School in South Carolina. Al Harrington coming out of St. Patrick's in New Jersey. He's 23. And then out of Picayune, Mississippi High School in his 5th season already is Jonathan Bender, getting better every game. You add that to the fact that Ron Artest is 24 years old, and you're talking about 4 really good players on the same team. Jim?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, Brad, I spoke to Jermaine O'Neal about this, and he said the one thing that I really had to improve this year was my leadership. I had to be more verbal both on and off the court. I had to let everybody know that they had a responsibility. He said, take, for example, Ron Artest and I, we didn't talk last year. I had to get to know him. I really had to try and understand him, so that's what I have done this year. I had to count on him both on and off the court, and the only way to do that was to get to know him. Now I think I know him. That's why he's calmed down, and that's where I've asserted myself.
What Jermaine did is he had regular matchups at the bowling alley against Al Harrington and Jonathan Bender, and he just kept saying to Artest, come on, dude, you got to come bowling with us. Artest said, I didn't always go, but I started to once in a while, and we became teammates.
Bowling?
Bowling.
Bowling.
Bowling for dollars. Harrington.
You know what stands out to me in that is what you said, the last word is teammates. guys have to learn how to be teammates before you can start winning as a team. And that's very important that Jermaine O'Neal, though he's been in the league 7 years, is understanding that.
6 on the shot clock. Tayshaun Prince will take it over Harrington, falling down, and the ball is an air ball. Corliss Williamson battling, and he knocked it off Bender with 1 second on the shot clock.
See, Tayshaun Prince took that shot, but he really didn't want to take the shot instead of stepping into the shot.
1 second. This is where they're looking for Derek Fisher.
Yes.
Actually, that'd be too much time for him. Wow, that certainly was. that was a home court buzzer.
Yeah, that was less than .4. I can guarantee you that.
I'm with you. Wow, that was quick. Anyway, back come the Pacers, and it'll be a foul on Mike James.
See, what Mike James is doing is what Detroit did in the game that they beat the Pacers. Tinsley didn't play in that game.
Right.
And so they pressured all the way up the floor, which caused problems.
Tinsley had the flu in that game. In fact, he was only a starter in one of the games this year against Detroit. Of course, early in the season, Rick Carlisle sat him down to try to get his head in the ball game, and it worked. Ron Artest has just tied it up.
You know, so far what stands out in this game is that the Pistons have to find someone who can guard Artest, and then the Pacers have to find someone who can guard Rip Hamilton.
Eldon Campbell, the veteran on the baseline, hits it. His first point, giving Detroit a 2-point advantage with 10 minutes left in the half. Bender, quick first step, and he's fouled by Tayshaun Prince. That's the second on Prince. Let's check in with Michelle.
Well, during the last timeout, Larry Brown was commenting on this crowd. They've gotten louder as Indiana has gone on this run, and it's made it tougher for Larry Brown to get the calls in to Mike James. So he told Mike James, look, you've got to get the signal and make sure everyone understands it so we can run the play, Brad.
Well, on top of that, when you don't have a play and you don't know a call, you always look for your best player, and you just try to get him the ball.
Bender this time runs into Okur, and the ball comes out. Turnover by the Pacers. Harrington switches off now on to Rip Hamilton. Tough catch down low by Campbell. He's triple teamed, and Harrington with a steal. Take it right back is Hamilton. One each way there. Williamson. Crozier trying to save it, almost did. It either hit the under portion of the basket or our camera, I'm not sure which.
Yeah, you can see all the pushing, the shoving, the physicalness of this game right now. What the Pistons were hoping for was a 24-second violation, or the Pacers were. But they're saying that Crozier had control of the ball, which he did.
So the Pistons with a 2-point lead. Jermaine O'Neal back in there for Indiana. Hamilton trying to run Freddie Jones to death. Got the shot.
I tell you, he gets it up so quick. You know, the other guy that comes to mind is Del Curry, another quick shooter off the catch. I mean, watch how quick this ball touches his hand. Bam, it's up.
Yep.
So you have to really lock and trail and get tight with him.
Pistons with a fresh shot clock. Hamilton this time on the drive, and got it.
See, that's the difference that we talked about. Reggie Miller is a better three-point shooter. Rip Hamilton is better off the dribble, has a terrific in-between game. So he can not only catch and shoot, but he loves catching, driving, and getting to that in-between spot and pulling up.
Fouled by Fred Jones, and so Hamilton with 6 points so far goes to the free throw line.
Well, Larry's getting what he wanted. You know, before the game, we talked about the key for the Pistons was the guard play. Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups, right now, they're both playing terrific basketball.
5-point Piston lead again. Harrington going against Rasheed Wallace. The big nasty comes over to help. Fouled him. Corliss Williamson picks up the foul, his second. 8:49 remaining first half. Detroit on the road continues to lead. They are up by 5.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Brought to you by Sky Sport, the new low-carb, ultra-premium malt beverage with a taste of citrus and cranberry. And Jeep, trail-rated capability, only in a Jeep 4x4.
Kevin Frazier and Greg Anthony in the studio checking in on Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Once again, 2-1 Tampa Bay, but Robert Ashe standing on his head.
If they come back, the Flyers win this game, it's because of that man, Robert Ashe. At least that's what our resident hockey expert, Stephen A. Smith, told me when he sent me his 2.
Okay. Well, the winner of this game will take on Calgary when the Stanley Cup Finals presented by Nextel get underway Tuesday at 8 p.m. Sports Center at the Stanley Cup kicks things off at 7:30. Brad?
All right, Kevin, I know Greg's an expert on the National Hockey League. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
31-26. We take a look at our McDonald's NBA brackets. Game 2 in this one will be Monday right here in the West. The Lakers already lead the Minnesota Timberwolves 1 game to none after their victory last night. Surprised at that, Doc, or not?
No, I mean, L.A., they're playing great basketball. When you think that they won 4 games in a row against the San Antonio Spurs, them going into Minnesota does not surprise you, though I think Minnesota will come back and get back into this series.
Minnesota a little drained maybe by their previous series?
Yeah, I think emotionally they had to be. I mean, it was such a tough series when you think it went down to the final shot. So it's very tough to conjure up spirits every night and emotions every night. And you can see that in Kevin Garnett.
Shaquille O'Neal couldn't be stopped last night. So far, the Detroit guards can't be stopped here tonight. Phillips and Hamilton doing all the damage for the Pistons. Corliss Williamson trying to back in on Bender. Got his own miss. Tried again. And O'Neal with a rebound. Pacers started off 3 out of 19 from the floor, but they have hit 6 of their last 8. So they're warming up a little bit. Trailing by 4. This guy's been huge for him. Harrington off the bench, and he's got 10 points.
Yeah, he's not allowing the size of Detroit to bother him. He's using his quickness as his advantage for him.
Harrington, the leading scorer for the Pistons, one of the top 6 men in the business. Rip Hamilton has this one rim out. Williamson will try it again in close.
But, you know, Rip Hamilton calls that, you know, because he beats guys off the screen. They have to help, and it puts other guys in good defensive position. So that's an assist to Rip Hamilton.
Harrington wants the ball with Williamson in front of him. He'll go with a finger roll. Not enough on that. Let's see if Phillips starts to warm up again. He's got 13 points all in the first quarter. He has his pocket picked here.
And I was just going to say, the difference is Anthony Johnson is bigger. So Phillips just can't bully him and shoot over him. He's he's a great defensive player, has great hands, and you can see the size here. That makes the difference.
He just palmed that ball and took it away from him. Anthony Johnson, who, of course, was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year as a member of the Nets.
He also was on the Magic. You know, I'm watching all these guys.
Maybe if you had them all, you wouldn't be sitting here.
Most likely not.
Here's Tinsley back in at the point. Reggie Miller's back in there. O'Neal, Harrington, and Artest. Jermaine O'Neal. Rasheed Wallace trying to stay with him, and O'Neal on a fadeaway knocks it down, and a little collision inside.
Yeah, it was Ben Wallace and Artest, and you know Ben Wallace took exception with Artest over his back, but I didn't think it was much, and I thought Ben Wallace was probably the guy who reacted, and Artest kept his cool. You know, he's done a sensational job, Brad, this year with staying under control and keeping the calm about himself.
I was going to say, you wouldn't say Ron Artest and keeping his cool in the same sentence a year ago.
No.
He missed 12 games last year due to suspensions. This year he's been a much calmer, more mature Ron Artest.
And I think the respect of that is the vote Defensive Player of the Year. You can see right here, and what they're saying here is Ben Wallace is hooking.
So that free throw brings the Pacers to within 1. It's Reggie Miller playing Hamilton again now. Rasheed Wallace squares on O'Neal and drops it.
Brad, he is so good down there. The one difference that I've noticed since coming to Detroit, he takes less threes, he takes more post shots, and he's a better player because of it.
That's his first score of the ball game. Tinsley on a little runner, Jamal Tinsley. And now both teams warming up with 6.5 to go in the half. 35-34 Detroit.
You know, both great defensive teams, but I got to tell you, they've had great looks, both teams, all night thus far.
Now they're starting to drop. That's the difference. I think Reggie Miller is just fouling Rip Hamilton, running him out of bounds, trying to stay with him on that baseline.
Well, it's almost a guarantee. I can guarantee you this. If you hear a whistle away from the ball and Detroit has it, it's because Rip Hamilton is causing havoc with his movement.
Detroit takes a timeout with 6 minutes, 21 seconds remaining in the first half. Wallace and Wallace. Rasheed Wallace now getting in the act. His first basket over O'Neal. Pistons lead by 1.
You're watching the NBA Eastern Conference Finals on ESPN.
Where the Detroit Pistons lead the Indiana Pacers by 1. Rasheed Wallace had the basket before the timeout. 3 different teams he played for this year. Obviously started with Portland, where he spent most of his NBA career. Then he had a 1-game pit stop with the Atlanta Hawks. They loved him as a teammate. He had over 20 points. I don't know if they let him keep his jersey or not. And then he came here February 19th in a trade to Detroit, and it's made them so much better. They've gone 20-6 the regular season since his arrival. Let's check in with Michelle.
Yeah, when he came to Detroit, everyone knew Rasheed had a great reputation as a great team player. But what both Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton told me was they've been surprised how great he is on defense. A terrific communicator. He's made them all better on the defensive end, Brad.
He's so long down there. He plays like he's 7'1" with those arms. Detroit turns it over for the 9th time in the first half. And now the Pacers have an opportunity to lead, and they haven't led in a long time.
And nice job by Rick Carlisle coming out in the zone defense, knowing that the Pistons have been setting up a man-to-man play. So good move by Carlisle.
Wallace cleans the glass for the 8th time in the first half off the O'Neal miss. As you can see, one team is heating up and one is cooling off.
Yet you look at the score, it's a 1-point game.
And in the 4-game regular season matchup, you never saw these teams average 80 points, so we're a little bit ahead of pace. Our test for the lead. O'Neal keeps it alive. And the Pacers do lead.
You know, I was watching Jermaine O'Neal come up the floor, and I was thinking, they got to get him involved somehow. Now, on this, he got involved himself by going up, getting the offensive rebound, and now he has a chance for a 3-point play. But you look at the numbers, the Pacers are really struggling from the field, and they have the lead right now.
By 1, with a chance to make it 2. Corliss Williamson comes back into the lineup, and Okur goes out. Ben Wallace now with 2 fouls. That's something to watch with 5:23 remaining in the half.
You know, the Pacers were talking about not turning the ball over. Right now, it's been the Pistons.
Pistons have 9 turnovers already. O'Neal caps off the 3-point play. 11 for Jermaine. And the lead is 2 for the home team. First lead since it was 6-4. Corliss Williamson over Harrington. Rebound O'Neal. Looking to run to the Pacers. Tinsley to Reggie. Billups got in his face, or he would have let fly from 3-point land. And O'Neal changed his pivot feet and turns it over. He says he didn't.
Boy, I tell you what, it was so close I couldn't see it. I honestly didn't think he did, but, you know, Frank Fryer was right on that call, so I'm going to go with the ref on that.
You'll go with the ref this year. Next year you won't.
No, never.
Detroit looking to tie it up. Corliss Williamson leaves it for Wallace. One of the Wallaces comes up with it. It's Ben. Now it's Rasheed. Harrington, the outlet to Tinsley. Coming down 2-on-2. He'll take it to the rack. The follow by Harrington. Pacers match their biggest advantage of 4. Larry Bird likes it.
I'm watching Larry Brown. And what Larry Brown is trying to tell his guys to do is calm down. Let's not get caught up into it. Every time the Pacers have had a chance to run, they have taken advantage of it. They understand it's tough to score against the Pistons. Anytime we can get easy shots, we're going to try to get it.
Speaking of running, it's a 13-4 Pacer run right now. Wallace lost the handle going up. Artest just muscles the rebound. Harrington's been big in this first half. Reggie Miller for 3. And Ben Wallace is going to be in double figures in rebounds before the first half is over. That's no big surprise. And timeout, Detroit.
Good timeout. This timeout is all about taking the noise you hear right now out of this game.
3:54 remaining in the half. Everybody up in Conseco. Their Pacers now lead by 4. They've been into it the whole game, and now they have reason to be into it. The Pacers lead by 4 at home with 3:54 remaining in the first half. Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals, packed house at Conseco Fieldhouse here in Indianapolis. The Pacers haven't been in the finals since 2000, and they want to go back. Wallace has missed twice in close. Harrington trying to get around Corliss Williamson. Does with a left hand.
Al Harrington and the Pacer bench turned this entire half around in favor of the Pacers.
And now it's the biggest advantage of the ball game for Indiana. Can Billups quiet the crowd? Momentarily he does. 15 for Chauncey.
What was that? Size. That's all that was. It was size. He looked at Tinsley and said, I'm bigger than you. I'm going to back you down, and I'm going to shoot over you.
That ended a 3.5-minute field goal drought for the Pistons. 3 minutes to play in the half. Artest hits the outside jumper. Seven in the quarter, 11 for the game for Artest. Billups again, backing Tinsley up, and hits the same shot. What a half Chauncey Billups has had. 17 points.
You're Larry Brown. You know you have one place you can go.
Yeah.
Whenever you need a bucket off the dribble, you can go to Chauncey.
Jermaine O'Neal and Rasheed Wallace get tangled up.
It's getting chippy out here. It really is. And usually teams wait till like game 5. I think they've started right now, Brad. It's definitely getting a little chippy.
Both teams said they wanted each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've got it. We've got a good one.
Coming up in moments on the Toyota Halftime Show, we'll be joined by our special guest, Dwayne Wade. We'll also keep you updated on Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in hockey. 2-1 Tampa Bay over Philly right now. What have you seen so far in our basketball game, Dwayne?
It's been a hard-fought battle for both teams, but I think both teams are really going to their strengths. The Pacers are going inside, and Detroit is going outside, so it's been tough.
Pistons defense controlled the game early. Second quarter was all about Indiana's activity on the defensive end of the floor.
You know the difference in this game? The bench. Indiana's bench, they're better when they go to the bench than their starters. Detroit better with their starters in the game.
All right, more insight like that coming up in just moments on the Toyota Halftime Show. Let's go back to Brad, guys.
All right, Kevin, you got my new favorite player in there with you, Dwayne Wade.
From Marquette.
Rasheed Wallace and O'Neal got tangled up before that last foul called on Rasheed Wallace, and Rasheed wasn't happy about it. Let's check in with Jim.
Well, Brad, the two are very, very close friends. In fact, Jermaine O'Neal told me before the game, Wallace came up to him, he was speaking to him. They're going to get together after the game and have dinner. They stay in close touch. That dates back to when they were teammates together back in Portland. He gets a lot of advice, he says, in the past from Rasheed Wallace, and he's helped him quite a bit. That's a bit of an appetizer, though. They exchange a few more elbows. Dinner may have to wait until tomorrow night.
I was going to say the breaking bread's going to be breaking chops is what's going on right now.
Dinner plans before the game never turn out after the game.
Jermaine's had a good first half. He's hit all his free throws, 5 in all from the stripe. And he's got 13 points. Harrington, as Greg was talking about back in the studio, the huge bench support. He leads the Pacers with 14. Here he is trying to guard Eldon Campbell. Rip Hamilton, long range. He's not a big three-point guy. Corliss Williamson sticks it back up there. And now Harrington with another rebound. And he'll come out of the pack by himself. Reggie Miller for 3. Rasheed Wallace with a rebound.
It's amazing when Reggie Miller gets the ball, the entire crowd, his bench, and his coaches raise the three-finger because they know what's going to happen.
I came up a little bit on my chair on that one. And now there's going to be a foul on Harrington.
Al Harrington has turned this game around.
He really has.
I mean, he's doing everything. He's rebounding. He's leading the break. He's starting their offense on the post. He's done everything since he's been in the game.
If you're worried that he's injured with that wrap on his left bicep, that's just a brand new Thursday tattoo. Don't worry about it. Going to cover it up. Don't need any oozing out here tonight. Here's Campbell, blocked by O'Neal and out of bounds to the Pacers. Check in with Michelle.
Brad, during the last timeout, Larry Brown told his team, we've got to get out of this quarter. We have to control the tempo. You are letting them catch the ball way too deep. They're getting it wherever they want. And on offense, he said, Rick, you've got to get your little butt open.
He's been trying. Artest around Corliss Williams.
Yeah. I mean, right now, again, no one can guard Chauncey Billups. No one can guard Artest. And Rip Hamilton early on has been getting open. Now, I think the zone defense has had a big effect on Rip because now he's not moving, he's standing still more, and it allows the Pacers to guard it.
O'Neal has blocked the last 2 Eldon Campbell attempts. Final minute of the half. And an offensive foul's been called on Harrington.
Well, Al Harrington is upset because he's saying flop. He absolutely put his arm up there. Now, whether it's a flop or not, it still gives the officials a chance to call it. You know, I don't know if he did it enough for him to fall. See, that's a flop. But the fact that you put your arm in there allows that player to flop. And that's why the officials called it. It wasn't a foul, but he gave the officials a chance to call it.
And they'll call that one just about every time. 8-point lead, Corliss Williamson inside. Nice drive to the basket and a good look on the pass. Williamson with 4 off the Detroit bench.
And he's been effective.
Final 30 seconds of the half. 10 on the shot clock. Artest. Can Williamson stay with him? Trying a little scoop shot on the baseline, and now it's a foul on Corliss Williamson. And the intensity is picking up. That's 3 on Corliss Williamson. And that concerns Larry Brown. Tomorrow night on TNT, the Lakers in Minnesota will go at it. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals at 8:30 Eastern. And then Tuesday night on TNT, the Lakers and the Timberwolves. Game 3, 9 o'clock in the Western Finals on TNT. And Ron Artest. This is his first free throw of the ballgame. Pacers have only missed 2 free throws in the first half, so between the bench scoring and what they've done at the line, they've helped their cause, and there's what Ron Artest has done so far.
Yeah, but, you know, the game started, and it was all Detroit's energy. Rick Carlisle goes to his bench, and from that point on, it's been all about the Pacers and their energy, and Larry Brown is right. What he's trying to do is get his team out of this half, and get them out of this half without being down by 10 or 12.
Let's see if they can get the last score of the half. They trail by 7. Billups has been the workhorse and the scorer for Detroit. Anthony Johnson is on it. Chauncey, did he walk with it? Yes, he did.
See, another great substitution. Rick Carlisle knew. What are they going to do? They're going to ISO Chauncey. They need a bucket. So he brings in Anthony Johnson, a bigger guard, a guard that can do a pretty good job on him, and he causes a turnover.
4.6 remaining in the half. Pistons will be trailing at halftime. Indiana's got it when we come back. Brad Nessler, Doc Rivers, Michelle Tafoya, and Jim Gray back with you. Final 4.6 seconds. This is when I look at Miller time.
Yeah, I think so does Detroit. Wouldn't be shocked to see them go zone, but they won't do that. They're going to try to pressure the ball and make Indiana take a tough shot so they can't get in their offense in time.
Fred Jones is in there. He'll be the guy to trigger it. Johnson, Miller, Artest, and O'Neal, the other 4 Pacers on the floor. And now you hear the chants of Reggie from the sellout crowd.
Oh, they've seen it.
They've seen it. We've all seen it. Right now they've got both Okur and Billups shadowing him. Jones gets it into Artest. He puts it on the floor, and he'll have to muscle up a shot. And he got a decent look, but it's an air ball to end the half. The Pacers to close the half on a 16-6 run when the Pacers were leading, and now it's Indiana on their home court with a halftime advantage, leading by 7. Let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Brad. With Al Harrington, he had 14 points and 6 rebounds. How did you manage to turn this game around coming in off the bench?
I just came in just to play the game. You know, a lot of the media have been saying that our bench was struggling, so, you know, I took all the pressure on me and I had to come out and play good.
This team started 3 for 19. Did you feel as though you were going to dig too big of a hole?
No, not really. I mean, you know, I know we play defense and we can get stops, so we can weather, you know, bad offensive storms. And we did that, and, you know, now we're back in the game. We're winning.
Al, you got popped in the chest and you've had trouble breathing the last minute. What's the problem?
I caught an elbow in the middle of my chest and it hurt like crazy, so I'm about to go back and get some treatment.
All right, Al, thank you for your time. Good luck in the second half. All right, back to you, Brad.
I don't think that's going to be the only elbow to the chest in this series. Pacers leading by 7. Coming up, Toyota Halftime Show. Kevin and the crew. We'll look at the Flyers Lightning Game 7. Dwayne Wade's in the studio with him. Diana Taurasi returns to Connecticut, the WNBA today. Here in the first half, the Pacers so far have held home court. They came from behind. They lead by 7 at the break. 48-41, Indiana.
Welcome to the Toyota Halftime Show.
The crowd outside in Times Square Live in the same flavor in Casico Fieldhouse, where the Pistons and Pacers are doing battle in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers lead 48-41 at the half. Meanwhile, our guest right here on set, the man who helped lead the Miami Heat all the way to the Eastern Conference semifinals and really almost took them to the motherland, Dwayne Wade, and one of just 5 rookies in his career, or at least in the last 50 years, to lead his team and scoring pretty impressive company when you look at the guys there right now. Why are you looking at me like that, Greg?
I know you're the president of the fan club, but you almost took him to the motherland?
Dwayne, congratulations on a great season, and don't mind the haters on our...
I ain't got nothing but love for him. The boy bad now.
That's what I'm saying. All right, well, right off the bat, let's talk about this game going on right now. Pacers and Pistons, and your thoughts on the first half.
If I'm Detroit, I've got to be a little worried. You hold them to 39% shooting from the field. They're shooting 12% from three-point range, and yet they're up 7. And that's not a positive sign. Again, it's that inside-out mindset. Indy's dominating on the inside. Detroit's being carried by their guards.
Early on, the Pistons deterred everything at the rim. Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace were blocking shots. They were closing down the lane. Indiana started off slow. But the Pacers' defense is really what turned this game around in the second quarter. They had a great surge of activity, created some transition opportunities. They got out, turned the game around.
Dwayne, your thoughts on this first half?
I think the second quarter was really the tell of it so far. The Pacers really picked the defense up and, you know, really made Detroit, you know, work hard for every shot. And on the other end, you know, Detroit was, the Pacers were getting great shots. So I think that's just been the difference, the defense.
All right, Dwayne, you just finished playing this Pacers team, and right now, if you could go in there and tell the Pistons something, what would you tell them to do?
Well, they have to come out this half very strong. I think that was the thing we didn't do well, was come out the second half strong. They're a good team to end the second quarter, and they're a great team to start the third. So they got to come out the second half very strong.
Coach Anthony, your thoughts?
I think if I'm Detroit, again, I got to try and establish an interior presence. I got to get Rasheed Wallace going on the block. I like Larry Brown trying to get Eldon Campbell, you know, the old Fossil Campbell going, but they're going to need Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed Wallace is really going to be the key, period, because they need him to score on that block. He's the only player they have with the ability to do that.
I think Larry Brown needs to find somebody to guard Al Harrington because everybody he's gone up against has been a mismatch. He's gone over Corliss Williamson. He's gone around Eldon Campbell. No matter who they put on him, he's going crazy. So they need to run people at him, get the ball in his hands because he is definitely in a groove right now offensively.
Maybe they could get Dwayne.
Dwayne got to help him out.
They could use him right now. This is game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. Meanwhile, last night, game one of the Western Conference Finals. Lakers and Timberwolves. Everyone focused in this game. But you had to figure the Timberwolves had a little hangover after Game 7 of their semifinal series, and we saw it. Michael O'Candy, 8 points in the first quarter, but from there, all Lakers. Kobe Bryant, fantastic, and as always, the daddy led the way. Kevin Garnett kind of locked up. Tim?
Well, I think Karl Malone came out. He understood. Kevin Garnett's tank was somewhat empty going into that game with the emotion and energy he spent in Game 7 against Sacramento. Karl Malone was very physical with him early in the game, took his legs. Kevin Garnett really never put his stamp on this game at all. Very quiet night, 16-10, but it was a quiet night for Kevin Garnett. Never really impacted the game.
Derek Fisher had a big game also.
Oh, he had a tremendous basketball game. And, you know, that's the advantage that the Lakers have because of that dominance of Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. That's going to provide a lot of scoring opportunities for guys like Derek Fisher and Devin George. If they step up and make plays, the Lakers are going to be pretty much unbeatable.
Dwayne, are the Timberwolves in trouble? This second game, how would you attack the Lakers?
Well, I mean, when the Lakers are ready to play, I mean, it's pretty much no stopping them, especially when Shaq and Kobe are on the same string. And then you got guys like Derek Fisher playing the way he's been playing. You know, they're an unbelievable team. But
does Minnesota have a chance, though?
They're at home. I think any team at home got a chance.
All right, so but you like the Lakers in this series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
See, what the reason
who your favorite team was growing up?
Chicago Bulls.
All right.
He grew up in Chicago.
That doesn't mean anything.
Oh,
you
yeah,
grew up in Maryland. The Bullets aren't your favorite. The Wizards aren't your favorite team.
You're real funny. I was a big Vancouver Grizzlies fan until they drafted his point guard out of UNLV. They wrecked everything. They wrecked it. So I had to find another team.
Oh, my God. Is he?
Are you a Yankees fan?
I call him LL.
Laker lover. You're a Patriots fan.
This halftime show is presented by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized. Welcome back to the Toyota Halftime Show.
Hey, a big first half for Jermaine O'Neal, 13 points. He didn't wear the goggles. He's 4 of 8 from the floor. He also has 7 rebounds. It's one of the reasons his team has the lead at halftime. Meanwhile, let's check in on the hockey game between Lightning and Flyers. Game 7, Bill Davidson owns the Pistons and also the Lightning. His team started off fast. They were up 2-0 after Frederick Modine's goal, but Tim, your guys from Philly came back.
They're fighting back. If the Flyers lose this game and another Philadelphia team takes us to the brink without winning something, the Ben Franklin Bridge might collapse.
All right, well, it's 2-1 Lightning right now. Meanwhile, WNBA basketball and Diana Taurasi back in Connecticut, skating on the Connecticut Sun. Dwayne, she had 26 points. She can go.
Yeah, she can go. She plays with so much poise. She looks like a veteran out there. She's on the rookie. I love her game.
Mr. WNBA, Greg Anthony?
No, that's the Lady Larry Bird. That's all I got to say about that.
He's already got his names and everything.
To be called a game.
You are ready to call your WNBA game.
I can't wait.
Meanwhile, 2004 French Open coming up Monday. Who do you like in the French Open?
You know, I got to go with my hometown, Andre Agassi.
Yeah, Dwayne, who you
And I'm going to take a Williams girl.
I'm not a big French Open guy.
Do you like French fries?
Yeah, I like French. I took French, but I'm
But you
not
know
a
what?
French Open.
You would watch. You're going to watch French Open this year, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's believable.
This halftime show is presented by the all-new Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-sized.
Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. First half, the Nike first half statistics favor the Indiana Pacers, who lead by 7 at the break. They started off very cold, but they definitely warmed up as things got going, and they closed out both the first and second quarters on nice runs, and that's where they are right now, leading 48-41. Welcome back, everybody. Brad Nessler and Doc Rivers. This one looked like it was going to be all Detroit early. Indiana was kind of sleepwalking their way along. Ron Artest at one point was 1 for 8. All of a sudden, their bench came to life. As Al Harrington was a story of the first half.
Al Harrington was absolutely the difference in the first half because of his energy.
As we take a look at the Chevy game track, you're going to see that he was part of it. But also, for Detroit early, the 2 guards got off.
Well, that's what they had to do. They wanted to establish the guard play early, and they did. Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton got involved early. And then Rick Carlisle went to his bench, and Al Harrington single-handedly turned this game around. And where he turned it around was just overall bench play. Bender gets involved, draws some fouls, get a couple assists, makes a three. I think the energy is the difference. The hustle board is the difference so far in the first half.
Mike Brown and Ron Artest talking on the sideline as we check in with Michelle Tafoya.
Well, I checked in with Larry Brown coming out of the locker room. He said foul trouble really hurt his team early, that the team lost its poise when they got into foul trouble. He said we also didn't share the ball well, and that was a problem. And most of our turnovers came when guys jumped up to take a shot, then tried to make a fancy pass instead of making the pass before they jumped up to take a shot. He also wants to look for his team to get to the foul line more so their free throw attempts go up. Now let's check in with Jim Gray, who's covering Indiana. Jim?
All right, Michelle, thank you. Al Harrington just went back into the locker room. I spoke to him. He is having trouble breathing. He took a shot in his chest on the right side. David Craig took him back there. He may go take a little bit of oxygen. He hopes to try and play here in the second half. As for Rick Carlisle, he told me that he can't let these two guards continue to get off, Hamilton and Billups, and he said we must start the third quarter much better than the first. We can't dig a hole like that again. We won't dig out.
All right, Jim, we have to watch the Al Harrington situation very closely because he was a huge part of that first half, as we talked about, and we're underway in the third quarter.
And I think that the two things the Pistons have to do a better job, they have to get to the foul line, number one. The Pacers shot 15 free throws to the Pistons 7, and they can't turn the ball over. The Pacers forced 10 turnovers in the first half. And so if you want to watch a stat, those are the two.
And part of what you saw graphically there fits exactly with what you're saying. To get to the foul line, you got to get some of your big guys going to the rack. Tayshaun Prince on a runner didn't get fouled, but he did knock down only his second field goal. But Billups and Hamilton can't do it all by themselves.
No, they can't. I think the other place they have to go is Wallace. Rasheed Wallace down on the post.
Here's Jermaine O'Neal. He and Reggie Miller play catch, and now it's O'Neal across the lane. And rebound, last touch by whom? They're going to be the Pacers' ball.
Yeah, if you look at Rick Carlisle, you're thinking one thing. We haven't really got Jermaine O'Neal involved on the post. He has scored, but not much on the post.
Remember, only 3 on the shot clock as Reggie Miller inbounds. Artest fades away. Long shot and got it.
Well, he intercepted the pass to Tinsley. That ball was going to Tinsley, and Artest played defense on offense and scored 3.
Boy, this guy's multifaceted. You can talk all you want about his defense. His offense just keeps getting better. 8-point Pacer lead again. And trying to get it to Rasheed Wallace, and he overthrew him. Chauncey Billups throws it away. The 12th turnover suffered by Detroit.
Well, the reason he couldn't get it to him is because Rasheed Wallace was posting at the three-point line. That's a little bit far away from the bucket.
Reggie Miller for 3. And Foster with the offensive rebound. That's what he does so well. Artest contested. 3-on-2 for Detroit. Rip Hamilton. There's not too many guys that can shoot that shot any better than he can.
The in-between game is what makes Rip Hamilton so good.
And the reason you just don't find that many guys that can shoot from 15 feet, I guess too many three-point shooters and too many guys looking to slam dunk all the time. But Rip's got it down in an old-fashioned sort of way. Artest against Prince. Tayshaun did a good job that time.
Defense.
But Foster kept it alive again. O'Neal worked to the elbow. That's his spot. He knew where he wanted to get to, but he missed it.
Tayshaun Prince has come out in the second half, Brad, and you can see he looks like he has more confidence.
Definitely more energy. Jermaine O'Neal picked up the foul. That's his first. Tayshaun just 4 points, 1 field goal in the first quarter, 1 here to start the third. Billups pull up over Tinsley.
See, that's what Larry Brown was talking about. Not a lot of ball movement. That the bad part about a point guard trying to score is that no one else is involved. Now, they need his points, but they have to figure out a way of getting his points and still getting everybody else involved at the same time.
Detroit turns it over again. O'Neal, nice extra pass to Tinsley.
The maturity of Jermaine O'Neal. It's not about the points for him anymore. It's about winning basketball games and making his teammates better.
He knows he's going to be a 20 and 10 guy. That'll take care of itself. Hamilton over O'Neal. Wow. What a shooter. 13 for Rip Hamilton.
It's like a walk on the park. You know, he just keeps moving along, gets open shots. When he gets it, he takes it.
Playing with the face mask that he says he's gotten accustomed to after 2 broken noses. He's definitely seeing the basket tonight. We know that. And Tinsley, too much juice on that one for Foster.
Yeah, that was
the Pacers turn it over.
That was Randy Johnson-ish.
It was. That 98 thing going on.
He could throw a no-hitter with that pass.
The Lightning have beaten Philadelphia and win the series to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Boy, they had a good one going. Greg Anthony will have more on that after the ball.
Yeah, him and Stephen A. Smith.
6 on the shot clock. Ben Wallace in the low block. Gives it up to Tayshaun Prince. Perfect pass.
Yeah, Tayshaun, you look at him, Brad, he didn't need but a couple of buckets to get involved. And if he starts scoring, it makes Artest work.
They cut the Pacers' lead in half. Artest goes right back to the rack around Wallace. 17 for Ron Artest. Billups trying to shake Tinsley. Running the baseline. Ben Wallace on the feed. Partially deflected underneath. Tinsley got a runner inside, and he's fouled.
See, that's his game. I really like when I see Tinsley going into the paint and elevating instead of settling for the 3. I mean, with his ball handling ability, he can get in the paint whenever he wants to. And when he starts doing this, you know, this is tough to guard. If you come up on him, he makes the pass. If you don't, he can first throw that little leader. Very tough to guard. I like when he starts to play that way.
And, Doc, that's the 3rd foul on Rasheed Wallace. Let's check in with Jim.
Brad, Al Harrington has returned to the bench. David Craig has put some special padding on his sternum. I spoke to Harrington as he came out. He said he's never had an elbow like this or a feeling quite like this in a basketball game. He's still having trouble breathing. He hopes to come back to the game. He believes it came from Corliss Williamson.
That would be a shock. Yeah, really.
Welcome to the playoffs.
Right back to an 8-point lead now for the Pacers. Wallace has to be a little bit careful. He turns it over anyway. Playing with 3 fouls. Threw a little bit of his shoulder into Foster, and then on the dribble, turned it over. Neither team is led by double digits on the night. Tinsley gives it up to O'Neal.
So that's his game again.
Wallace just snatched that one off the head of Jamal Tinsley for his 13th rebound. Tayshaun for 3. And he got his own save there on the baseline. Hamilton from the free throw line.
The move Rip Hamilton made, he took one fake, one dribble, didn't go anywhere, but got himself wide open, standing still.
He's pretty efficient with the dribbles, that's for sure. It's a 6-point game.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Brought to you by Coors Light. Unleash the Rocky Mountain cold taste of Coors Light. The new Chevrolets. 10 new cars and trucks in 20 months. An American revolution. Cisco Systems. This is the power of the network. Now. And Radio Shack. You've got questions. We've got answers.
Kevin Frazier in the studio. The game is over in Tampa Bay. Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals over in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Hold on for the 2-1 win. Bill Davidson has one team in a finals. The Tampa Bay Lightning headed to the Stanley Cup Finals. And as a matter of fact, the Stanley Cup Finals presented by Nextel kick off on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Sports Center at the Stanley Cup Finals. Starts everything at 7:30. Calgary's awaiting the Tampa Bay Lightning. But right now, let's go back to Michelle.
All right, thanks very much. So Bill Davidson has one team going to the Stanley Cup Finals. There's Joe Dumars' GM, who's trying to get this team to the NBA Finals. A few moments ago, the championship trophy was brought out onto the court, and players were paying close attention. This is an interesting time for the Pistons owner, Bill Davidson. He was at Game 7 the other night against New Jersey, along with his rabbi for good luck. Meanwhile, one of his players, Rasheed Wallace, is a huge Philadelphia Flyers fan. They've had a nice friendly rivalry going on, but Brad, probably best that the owner got the better of that rivalry, huh?
I'd say I agree with you there, and it was amazing when the trophy was brought out to midcourt. How many players on both benches turned their heads even away from their coaches to have a glance?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You can see Carlisle and Brown throwing up plays, and the players dreaming about that trophy.
Well, the 4 teams that are left, that's what they're playing for. 5:25 remaining third quarter. This is game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Brad Nessler, Doc Rivers, Michelle Tafoya, Jim Gray in Indianapolis at Conseco Fieldhouse, where the Pacers lead by 6. They've led by as many as 8 on a couple of occasions. Rasheed Wallace really hasn't been on his game tonight. He's got 2 points. I don't know if the foot is giving him that much trouble, Doc, or the Pacers are giving him that much trouble.
I think it's the Pacers. I think Jeff Foster is pushing him off the block. He's catching it about a foot or 2 further out than he really wants to catch the ball.
Ben Wallace with the steal. Hamilton blocked by Artest.
Wow. Artest came from the opposite corner to get to Rip Hamilton.
Remember,
amazing.
that break started with Ben Wallace, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, with a steal, and on the other end, the current Player of the Year defensively with the block shot.
Great recovery, or more importantly, recognition by Artest.
Mike James in the lineup. Oh, Artest is playing Hamilton again, and they just had a big old bump down on a low block. Ben Wallace, a fadeaway over O'Neal. Harrington, who's back in there after the breathing problem. You can see grimacing again, as Jim was talking about, kind of holding his chest there as he went for that rebound.
Yeah, one adjustment Artest has made on Rip Hamilton. He's decided to force him out of one side, using his body to block his other side. Not a bad move for Artest.
And now Hamilton's trying to guard Artest, and he's given away about 50 pounds. Artest missed the jumper. O'Neal. Too many steps. Second time he's traveled tonight.
That was just a loss of body of balance.
Corliss Williamson's going to check back in for Larry Brown's Pistons. So it's Williamson, Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, and Richard Hamilton. Billups has not scored in the second half so far. 17 in the first for Chauncey. Wallace again lost the handle and turned it over again. Second time when he's put it on the floor, he's turned it over.
You can see he's not sure what he wants to do.
Billups on Artest. That's a mismatch, but now he gets double team help from Hamilton. 5 on the shot clock. Wide open Harrington. Tipped in by O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal with 15. Pacers went almost 4 minutes without a field goal. And now on the baseline, Bender and Corliss Williamson get tangled up, and Bender will be charged with his second foul.
You look at Detroit right now, Brad, and my first thought is, where's their offense? You can see them really struggling to get shots. Every shot is late clock right now for Detroit.
Wallace with a 3. Ben Wallace with a rebound. He'll try it offensively and scores. Well, if not Rasheed, go to Ben.
Yeah, you need offense, so you go to Ben Wallace.
That's right. It's just automatic. He's averaging over 11 points in the playoffs, which is up from his regular season of 9.5. And had the big 18-point game in the series capper against the Nets. Bender bends the rim.
The more I watch Jonathan Bender play, the more I see a longer Tracy McGrady, which is scary.
A late bloomer starting to bloom here in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. There's Bender going to the rack to give his team an 8-point lead with 2:40 remaining third quarter.
Tonight on SportsCenter, a complete breakdown and analysis of the Pistons-Pacers Game 1. One and done for the Timberwolves. Lightning looking for Game 7 Thunder, and it could start getting rocky for Roger. SportsCenter after basketball.
You're watching the NBA Eastern Conference Finals on ESPN.
8-point advantage right now in the favor of the Pacers. At home with 2:40 left in the third quarter. And Bernie Fryer, one of our officials, wired tonight in Indy.
Keller, you gonna yell at me again tonight? Are you gonna yell at me? Let's not yell at each other. All right. You were straight up, Corliss. And just when he went, you were sliding with him and body on as you slide under. Where are you going to dinner after the game?
Probably not with Bernie. That's what Reggie's thinking right there. But
you know what I like, though? They made a conscious effort, the officials this year, to communicate with the players and the coaches, and I think it's going over so well.
Detroit in need of offense with 2.5 to play in the third quarter. Will they get it from this guy? They keep turning it over. And now it's another Piston turnover, and they never got a shot away.
Look at the hustle points. That's 15 turnovers, 11 offensive rebounds, and 17 free throws right now. That's why the Pacers are winning this game.
Certainly not their shooting percentage. The Pacers are shooting 37% from the floor. Their bench, led by guys like this, have been sensational. O'Neal, another rebound and a huge one. His 12th of the ballgame.
Hustle points right now are all in favor of the home team, and that can't be.
And Ben Wallace has just picked up his third foul.
And you can see them getting into it all game. We talked about it in the first quarter.
O'Neal trying to back in on Ben Wallace again. 7 on the shot clock. He'll fade from the baseline. And Hamilton with a rebound. Pistons slow to get up the floor there. The Pacers got back defensively. Corliss Williamson almost threw it away again.
Well, look at the length on the floor right now for the Pacers. Everybody's long.
It's all elbows and kneecaps, and they're all long. Fresh chance for Detroit. Williamson on the baseline will leave it out for Ben Wallace, taking an outside jump shot, and as we said earlier, kiddingly, tongue-in-cheek, when you need scoring, go to the outside to Ben Wallace.
I tell you, he's been responding. I mean, he right now is looking for that shot.
Larry Brown's got to be feeling good, Doc. There's a minute left in the third quarter. His team is down by 6 and not playing very well.
No, they're not playing well, and they're being outworked right now, which is what the road team has to do if they want to win this game.
Harrington got the pass off the pick and roll, just got the shot away before the clock expired, and we're in our final minute of the third quarter.
Well, he saw Ben Wallace.
And now Harrington throws the shoulder on Chauncey Billups, and that's 3 on Al Harrington as we check in with Michelle Tafoya.
When Detroit camp opened this season, Larry Brown went to Ben Wallace, told him he wanted him to become a scoring threat. Wallace said, cool. And he's been working on his shot ever since. Wallace told me before the game he takes about 75 to 100 jump shots at every shoot-around, even more at practice. Chauncey Billups says Ben is the first guy at shoot-around, the last one to leave, and he said he shoots more than anyone at practice, guys.
Pay it off.
Well, I've yet to see a player say, nah, that's all right, coach. I don't want to shoot the basketball.
You don't want that player on your team.
No, I don't want him.
Williamson, 7 on the shot clock. Corliss, the veteran, working on Bender inside and draws the foul.
Brad, you make a great point. right now, you look at all the numbers. They all kind of go towards the Pacers, but then you look at the scoreboard. If Williams makes these 2 points, it's just a 4-point game.
Right. Corliss Williams, it'll be his first trip to the free throw line. 84% in the playoffs so far for him. Former 6th man of the year, and in and out on the free throw. Tune into NBA TV immediately following every playoff and NBA Finals game for post-game press conferences. Live and unedited on NBA TV. You'll never know what you might hear. Corliss got the second of 2. 5 points in the game for him. Final 30 seconds, third quarter. A little bit of backcourt pressure from James and Hamilton. Bender. Harrington faces up on Wallace. Great spin move, but not a great move with the left hand. Would have looked good had it gone. And Hamilton's fouled by Artest.
See, the one mistake, in my opinion, that the Pacers have made is they're trying to get Rip Hamilton off the dribble with Artest. That's where he excels. In the first quarter, they were getting him points off without the ball, movement, around picks. That's where Artest struggles. Right now, Artest can guard Rip all day if he's going to try to take him off the dribble.
Right. That's the first foul on Ron. And Hamilton with 16. Lindsey Hunter comes in and O'Toole goes out. Rip can match Chauncey Billups as the leader in scoring for Detroit if he hits his free throw.
Well, Larry Brown has got what he wanted. He's got his 2 guards involved in this game. Now he needs help from one more guy. Ben Wallace has been terrific. He needs help from O'Toole or Rasheed Wallace.
Ripped them both. Pistons have a foul to give here with 6.3 left in the half. Tinsley from midcourt. And the Pistons somehow dwindled that lead down to 3 at the end of 3. Indiana led with 2:51 left in the quarter, but Detroit closes the quarter on a 5-0 run. End of 3. Pacers at home now clinging to the lead. 61-58. This is game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Indianapolis. Set to start the 4th quarter. Game available on ESPN HD. Log on to ESPN.com and search HD. Get the latest ESPN HD schedule or just learn more about high definition. 61-58 as we head to the 4th quarter, and about 4 hours ago, the coaches meeting some old friends. Remember, Larry Brown once coached Reggie Miller. 4 years he was the head coach of the Pacers. Sees his old buddies on the radio staff, and then on the other side, Rick Carlisle, 2 Central Division titles and 2 50-win seasons with these Pistons until changing jobs this year. And Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace come over to give their coach a hug, and especially Ben Wallace, who talked to the media yesterday, and everybody said, do you or your teammates miss Rick Carlisle? He said, no. And they said, is there going to be anything involved in this game where you guys want to prove to him that you can win more without him? And he said no. And basically, Rick Carlisle's just diffused the whole situation. He says, hey, you know, I changed jobs. That happens in this business. And the guy that took my job's a Hall of Fame coach. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, I can tell you that coaches change jobs. That's why I'm sitting here with you right now. Also, lots of respect, you know, both coaching staffs and players. But what else is Ben Wallace supposed to say when he's asked that question?
Harrington missed on a tip-in. And now Detroit's got a chance to lead, if you can believe that. Their last lead was with 6.5 minutes left in the second quarter, but they throw that lead chance away with another turnover.
Another turnover.
They have 17 in the ballgame. Corliss Williamson playing Ron Artest now. There's the matchup. Artest Trying to cross the lane, tough shot. Wallace cleared it, his 18th rebound, and now Rip Hamilton gives Detroit the lead. 21 for Hamilton. It all started with Wallace getting the rebound on the missed shot underneath. Got it out on the break. Wallace gets it out to Hamilton, and Hamilton's got 21, and the Pistons lead it. There's the man that's led the Pistons all night long, and he does it again. Detroit by 1 with 10:49 left.
ESPN's presentation of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Sprite Remix Berry Clear. Rethink, remix, refresh. Kia Motors. Kia, make every mile count. And Nike.
We're back in Indiana, where Rip Hamilton just gave Detroit a 1-point lead. He's got 21 in the game. You see him wearing that face mask, and in game he says, you know, things move too fast. I don't notice it so much. But he said whenever he goes to the free throw line or comes to the sideline, he's got to get it clean, because he said it shifts on his face. It's hot. It gets nasty, foggy, and sweaty. He doesn't have time to think about it in the game, but as you see, he gives it over to the equipment manager every time. This is the third time he's broken his nose, Brad. Once in Washington, then in training camp, and he didn't want to wear the mask. Then he broke it again in February and finally was convinced to wear the mask, because if he broke it again, he could have been out for weeks.
They couldn't afford that. The team said, at least try it, because if you break your nose again at playoff time, it's not going to be a good thing. And you know what I say? Hey, even the Lone Ranger looked good in the mask. Rebound, Okur.
You know, early it was Detroit being taken out of their offense. Now it's the Pacers being taken out of their offense. No Jermaine O'Neal. Only 2 points in this second half.
And the lob underneath to Ben Wallace.
Whenever you play the Pistons, out of timeouts, look for lobs and backdoors.
So Wallace is in double figures in points and rebounds with that alley-oop, and it's a 3-point Detroit lead at the 10-minute mark. Artest trying to lean in, didn't get the foul or the basket.
Boy, the Pacers are completely out of sync right now offensively.
And their all-star and their former all-star are trying to get back in the lineup, waiting at the scorer's table. And the foul's on Fred Jones.
I mean, this is a Larry Brown out-of-timeout play. Lobs for Ben Wallace or back cuts for their guards. You can see the screen. Crozier gets hung up. Wallace gets the dunk.
You know, Doc, the Pacers have not scored here in the fourth quarter. They only had 13 points in the third quarter. That tied their lowest scoring quarter of the playoffs. And they got to get this guy involved.
Yeah, they do. I mean, he's key. Even in the first half, though he scored points, Brad, I told you, I didn't think he was involved in the offense. They must get him the ball on the post.
3 on the shot clock. The extra pass is going to take too much time. Shot clock violation. Check in with Jim Gray.
All right, Brad, during that last timeout, Rick Carlisle told his guys to stay tough. He said, guys, we're not making sharp cuts. We're having real lazy type of attitude on offense. We need to make an extra pass, come off the pick, make a sharp cut, and no transition baskets. We survived this in the first quarter. You can survive it again here, but it's time to come to life.
Reggie Miller and Jermaine O'Neal are back in. Their current all-star, their former 5-time all-star. And here's a foul on Mike James.
But Rick makes a great point. The reason they're out of sync offensively is because they're not flowing offensively. They're not cutting hard right now. They're not getting the ball to the right guys right now. And so I think right now the Pacers have to look for a way of getting O'Neal involved in their offense.
There he is on the low block. Against Wallace with a left hand, a great spin move.
Great spin move, great setup by Jamal Tinsley.
They went over 5.5 minutes and missed 10 straight shots before breaking that drought, Doc. And now they're back to within 1. We're under 9 minutes. Wallace, the bounce pass to Hamilton. What a great look.
He never stopped moving. Never.
And how about the pass?
You know, again, now Rip Hamilton is scoring again because he's not doing it off the dribble.
O'Neal against Wallace again. Different move, same effect. 19 for O'Neal. 66-65. Detroit has hit its last 5 shots. They hold a 1-point lead. They miss that one, and O'Neal with a rebound. Pacers with a chance to lead if they score.
Go right back to him.
There he is. He gives it up this time. Now it's Reggie. They move it around the perimeter.
That's his game.
Wallace just snatched that rebound. 20 rebounds for Ben Wallace. And a foul on Tinsley, trying to poke it away from behind. 20 rebounds and 5 block shots for Ben Wallace to go with his 11 points.
You know, Ben Wallace, he gets 20 rebounds. It's almost like, well, that's expected.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how dominant he is.
Phillips, Okur, Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Corliss Williamson on the floor for the Pistons. And Memo Okur, his first basket, he picked a nice time for it.
Well, you knew they had to get someone else involved, and Okur is capable offensively.
Tinsley, the raindrop again.
Again, Tinsley is giving up that 3, Brad. He's taking it into the paint, and I think that's his game.
Phillips has not scored in the second half. Harrington with a steal.
Another turnover.
Tinsley for 3. Got it! Took one inside and then took a huge one outside, and it paid off. We're under 7 minutes, and the Pacers back in front by 2. Ben Wallace has feasted on the boards again tonight with 20. Wherever he goes to eat after the game, he's going to be chewing on one side of his mouth. This is why he's checking his teeth to make sure they're all there.
Yeah,
Basically, he got a headbutt. No standing 8 count. You see Jermaine O'Neal's noggin, boom, right into Ben's kisser. And then Ben looked at the official and said, hey, I think I got some blood here. And then when he went to the sideline, he realized he's got a pretty good sized hole in his lip.
It won't keep him out long, I guarantee you that.
So the Pacers at home lead by 2 with 6:51 left.
19 turnovers. 19 turnovers for the Pistons right now.
Chauncey Billups, again, as I mentioned, has not scored in the second half. Mehmet Okur adjusted in midair around Artest, and Artest pulled down the miss.
See, a 7-footer should never have to adjust around a 6'7" basketball player.
Reggie Miller got free momentarily from Hamilton, and now has to give it up again. 5 on the shot clock. Tinsley leaves it for O'Neal. He got a good look. Artest trying to hustle for the rebound. Goes sprawling out of bounds.
Have you ever seen a game with this many guys on the floor? Every single play, there's 2 and 3 guys down on the floor. And this is all about hustle plays from both teams right now.
I guess they all know that about 81% of the time the team that wins game 1 of a conference finals wins it.
Yeah, and they saw the golden ball.
Yeah, that's right. They did see the golden ball.
The golden ball got them going.
The championship trophy in attendance tonight, and it got all these guys' attention. Pacers clinging to a 2-point lead as we approach 6 minutes. Artest with Billups on him and 3 on the shot clock. Phillips does a nice job to strip it away. There'll be 2 seconds to shoot when the Pacers inbound.
Again, it's like the Pacers forgot that Jermaine O'Neal had it going. You know,
he
last
should touch
3
it
times,
every time.
he hasn't touched it.
Artest finds Foster, who gets a shot away, and it would have been a shot clock. It is a shot clock violation. So they wasted that trip down court. And the Pistons get it back with a chance to tie it up.
Now, Rip Hamilton has basically kept it going all game. Chauncey Billups, first half, great. Second half, they need him now to make a shot.
He tried and missed a 3. He hasn't had a field goal since 2.5 minutes remained in the second quarter. Chauncey Billups I'm talking about. And we're at 5.5 minutes remaining. Now O'Neal finally gets his hands on it again. Has Rasheed Wallace on him this time. Rasheed Wallace still down. Picking up his 4th foul.
And you can see the move here. And that's the foul. They're calling on his swing. Really, if Wallace just keeps his arms straight up, nowhere for O'Neal to go. But by the swipe, that gives the official a chance to make that call.
Just 2 points for Rasheed Wallace.
And it's clear right now for the Pacers where to go. You go to Jermaine O'Neal. What's not clear right now for the Pistons is where they're going. They know they would love to give Rip Hamilton a shot on movement. But where else do they go?
O'Neal with 20, right on his average.
Very difficult to win a game with all jump shots. That's why you look at the Pistons and you know someone on their team has to score in the post, and that's why there's such a big difference in free throws right now.
The lead is 4 for the Pacers now. Indy on a 7-0 run, and their crowd aware of it. Reggie Miller on Rip Hamilton. Trying to get his offense going, and this time they force not a good shot. And the Pacers have it back.
Again, off the dribble, though, Brad. When he scores, it's usually off the ball running.
Six on the shot clock. Artest on a turnaround jumper. And Ben Wallace has rebound number 21. 4th time in these playoffs, which has won 13 games so far for the Pistons, that Ben Wallace has had 20 rebounds or more. That's amazing. Rasheed Wallace fouled by Foster.
Now, where are they going? They're going to the foul line for one reason, because they went down to the post. See, the Pistons are a jump shooting basketball team, and you have to be who you are. There's no doubt about that. But you got to get some points down low, and because Rasheed Wallace has struggled so far in this game, they don't have many points on the post. There they went down to the post, and they at least get Rasheed Wallace on the free throw line.
Where he makes his first trip of the night. And connects. Only 3 points for Rasheed Wallace. Don't forget, tomorrow night on TNT, Timberwolves and the Lakers, Game 2. The Lakers up 1 now. And then Tuesday night on TNT, it's Game 3. 9 o'clock Eastern. The Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Wolves. Rasheed Wallace drains 2 from the stripe. And it's a 2-point game.
This is such a tough game to officiate because there's so many big bodies on the floor banging. You don't know what's a foul, what's a flop. You just don't know. Very tough game to call.
And some of the matchups, you have guys guarding guys that are 40 and 50 pounds heavier, and you don't know if it's a flop or if they just flat tagged them that good to knock them down. Which is the case with Artest with Tayshaun Prince on him right now. Tinsley lost the handle going up. Out of bounds to Detroit. Well, the all-time greats looking on. Never seems to sit in this arena. He's always got that spot and always standing. Detroit hasn't scored a field goal now in over 4 minutes, and we're under 4 to play in the game. Wallace trying to back Foster down. Artest with a rebound.
Good look for Wallace.
And now it's back to O'Neal. And Rasheed Wallace with a rebound. Ben Wallace spins right into Foster. Now he got 2 more pile-ups and 4 more guys on the floor, or scraping themselves off the floor.
It's a scrum.
Here's the first part of it. Those 2, well, one of them goes down, and then 2 more go down.
Tony Dungy would call that a clip.
Yep, it's an illegal block, at least below the waist from behind. Top block. Wallace rims out the jumper. Rasheed Wallace keeps it alive. When is Chauncey Billups going to shoot again? Maybe never.
I thought he was going to drop that one right there.
I did too. Hamilton around a pick, but through a double team.
There's another look.
Here it comes. And he missed it, but Wallace with his 22nd rebound. Chauncey Billups says, let's just calm down a second. We've got 15 to shoot. Knocked away by Tinsley from behind. Detroit will inbound with 12 seconds on the shot clock and 2:37 on the game clock when we return. Timeout in Indianapolis. Pacers holding on to a 2-point lead.
Tonight on SportsCenter, a complete breakdown and analysis of the Pistons-Pacers Game 1. One and done for the Timberwolves. Lightning looking for Game 7 Thunder, and it could start getting rocky for Roger. SportsCenter after basketball.
Indiana clings to a 2-point lead with 2:37 remaining in the fourth quarter of Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And we take a look at our Sprite Mad skills. A guy that's mad on the boards. He does a little bit of everything. Ben Wallace with the dime there. There's one of his 22 rebounds. He's double figures in scoring with 11 as well. He's been a big man tonight. They're going to need more of him in the last 2.5 minutes if they're to come from behind and win Game 1.
Yeah, they really are, but he has done everything. And, you know, you think about Jason Kidd is one of the few players who can dominate a game offensively without shooting. Ben Wallace is one of the few players ever to be able to dominate a game defensively without really getting involved offensively, though he's much better offensively this year. The only other defender that comes to mind is Dennis Rodman.
Neither team's made a field goal in over 420. In fact, Detroit's has lasted over 5, approaching 5.5 minutes without a field goal. 4 on the shot clock. Billups hasn't scored again in the second half, but he's fouled there. And that's 4 on Tinsley.
Yeah, and Tinsley knew exactly what Billups was going to do, but he also knew exactly at the end of the day that Billups was bigger, so he tried to do a little bit more. That little bit more put him on the foul line.
Where he's 4 for 4 tonight and 88% of the playoffs, but he rims that one out.
So, in essence, good foul by Tinsley, which you rarely say on the jump shooter.
It only cost him 1, not 2. And it's a 1-point game. Al Harrington, who had the huge first half off the Pacer bench, looking on. On the floor, it's Miller, Artest, Foster, O'Neal, and Tinsley, the Pacers starting 5. Miller's pass tipped by, and now we're going to have a foul on Rasheed Wallace. And he's trying to control himself emotionally. It's his 5th foul.
Well, I think what he's saying is, listen, we're physical both ways, you know, and you call it on me. So I got to tell you, I thought it was a foul.
Test muscles his way past Prince, but he missed the shot and got it back. And now it's a jump ball.
They better watch Rasheed Wallace right now. He is really close.
And he's been a virtual saint this year compared to past seasons.
He's been great. You know what? Give me a guy who shows some emotion. I mean, obviously, he goes overboard at times.
Now he's got to refocus it to where he's not going to do the Pistons any good.
Now his emotions are hurting him.
And Phillips, you can't take that. He didn't touch it on the jump ball.
Wow.
They're going to re-jump?
Yeah, what they're saying is it was a bad toss. If they had ruled that it wasn't a bad toss, then it would have been illegal for Chauncey Billups to catch the ball. They're saying it was a bad toss. Good call.
Now they're going to try to make sure everybody's around the circle where they're supposed to be. A lot of jockeying for position going on with 2 minutes left in the game. Ball loose, picked up by Tinsley. Tinsley with 2 on the shot clock. And Rasheed Wallace with the rebound. Chance for Detroit to lead if they score.
Fine Rip Hamilton.
Tayshaun Prince for 3, and he got it. Talk about a huge shot by the second-year pro. Last year he was huge in the playoffs. He's been kind of quiet since the first round against Milwaukee, but that is the biggest shot of the night for him.
Brad, he made this shot when he made that layup to start the second half. You can see his confidence soaring.
Pistons had gone over 6 minutes without a field goal. They got a huge one there. Tayshaun Prince couldn't have picked a better time for the Pistons to hit his biggest shot of the ball game, a three-pointer just before we went to break, and now Detroit is out in front. 1:40 left, Doc. As we say down in Georgia, this one's fixing to get interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting right now. And you look at the Pacers, you're trying to figure out where they're going to go. Jermaine O'Neal is the guy they should go to. But Ron Artest has an advantage also because of his size. But O'Neal is probably where they set this. Always look for Reggie Miller at this point in the game. Let me make one note about Tayshaun Prince. The reason he was so wide open is because Rip Hamilton touched the ball, and the entire team ran to Rip Hamilton. He did the right thing. He hit the open man.
The Pacers didn't necessarily shoot well to close out the Miami Heat. They only shot 32% in that game 6. They're only shooting 33% tonight, but they're only down by 2 points.
Yeah, and foul on Ben Wallace because he was going to try to front the post, not to allow the catch on O'Neal. The Pistons are concerned about O'Neal in the post, or the Pacers are. Going right back.
Trying to get it to him. They'll have to make the extra pass maybe to get it there, if they can get it there. Now Reggie Miller gives it to Foster on a drive. And Jeff Foster, who had a big game against Miami, just got his first basket of the night to tie it up.
That shot was tossed again by O'Neal because they had the front.
Tie game at 74. Game 1 Eastern Conference Finals. 1 minute left in regulation. Air ball by Billups. Out of bounds to the Pacers. Jamal Tinsley looks to Rick Carlisle. In his first year as a head coach of the Pacers, brought him to the best record they've ever had in the regular season, 61-21. Can they get game 1 of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference Finals? Tipped by Foster. He's made 2 huge plays the last 2 trips down court.
Watch Reggie Miller.
He got around a pick. Here's the 3. Got it! There's never been a better three-point shooter or a guy in the clutch. It's Miller time, but we still got 31 seconds left. Nobody's taken a seat in Conseco Fieldhouse except Reggie Miller. Foster kept this alive by tipping it out. And then it was time for a guy for the 292nd time just in the playoffs to hit a three.
And Brad, I called it before because you could see it. You can see the way they were setting up. Rip Hamilton turned his back on the ball. And when you guard Reggie Miller, if you turn your back on the ball, then you can't see where the picks are coming from. And that's how Reggie Miller got open. And that was Rick Carlisle showing emotion.
Don't say he doesn't. He did there. 31.7 left.
Now, they don't need a three here. It's 31 seconds. They would love a quick two and a foul.
Tough just getting the ball in. They get it into Hamilton. He's looking for a screen. Now has Foster on him. Kicks it back out to Tayshaun Prince. Now it's Hamilton. And in and out on a three, and O'Neal the rebound.
I like the call by Detroit. They were going for the quick two. Rick Carlisle did something very smart at the end of the game. Instead of trying to show on the pick and roll, he switched. Jeff Foster stayed in front of him. And then the long rebound, they almost got to look.
This baby was halfway down, and it came back out. O'Neal with the board, Ben Wallace with the foul. His fifth. And now Jermaine O'Neal on the other end will walk to the free throw line.
I got a feeling we're going to see 6 or 7 games exactly like the game we just saw.
In and out on the free throw. And Rasheed Wallace and Jermaine O'Neal, maybe they aren't going to dinner together tonight.
No.
let's make it brunch in a couple of days.
That was canceled in the first quarter.
This one the bigger to try to make it a 2-possession ball game with 19.8 left. And he missed them both. And Tayshaun Prince the rebound. Jermaine O'Neal's left the door open. Very much open with 19.2 left.
Now, again, there's 19 seconds left. You don't need a three. You can get a quick two and a foul. Obviously, if you get a three, you take it. The problem with the Pistons, you look at who takes three-pointers on their team, and you think Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, and really you stop there.
Yep. Rip Hamilton in the regular season had only 18 threes, so as much as he's a scorer and as well as he has scored tonight, he's not a big three-point shooter. In fact, Rasheed Wallace is probably a bigger three-point shooter than Rip Hamilton.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Rasheed Wallace take a three if he gets it. You know, Larry Brown likes to run the pick and roll and have Rasheed Wallace pop, but they're going to switch that now. They just showed their hand on the last play. So look for a quick two if they can get it, and then a foul.
Three-point game, 19.5 left. Detroit trying desperately to steal game one. After they had to go a 7th game against New Jersey, they've had very little rest. Came in here, and if they could steal game one, it would be huge. The Pacers, obviously the best record in the regular season in the Eastern Conference in their home building, 34-7. They're not accustomed to losing here, and they don't want to let this one slip away either.
No, they don't. And obviously, three-point lead at home with 19 seconds left. They kind of like where they're at right now.
It's every other day, folks. It's as simple as that. We'll be back here Monday, then at Detroit Wednesday and Friday. All games on ESPN, and then we go to, if necessary, the 30th, the 1st of June, and the 3rd of June.
Rasheed Wallace would love to get a look here.
He's over on the right elbow with Foster on him. It'll be Tayshaun Prince with those long arms to try to inbound over Ron Artest. And Ron will try to make that as difficult as possible. Comes into Hamilton. Reggie Miller on it. Hamilton drives, kicks back out. Tayshaun Prince, extra pass. Billups for three.
Got a great look.
Rasheed Wallace backs out. Now he'll take it. And Reggie Miller had his hands on the rebound. And if he's fouled by Rip Hamilton, I think you can put this one in the books.
See, Rasheed Wallace's shot was a bad shot. You know, Chauncey Billups, they got a wide open three off the dribble penetration by Rip Hamilton. They get the second rebound. They don't need a three steal. That's a fourth shot. I mean, this is great right here. They get a good look at a three. Right here is bad. You don't need to force this shot. There's 10 seconds left when you got the rebound.
And now you've got one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time who's just re-chalked over there on the sideline. He is 35 of 36 from the stripe in the playoffs. And he rimmed one out.
Boy, it looked bad right off his hand. The great thing about Reggie Miller, it doesn't affect him. He's going to shoot the second one the same way.
And got it.
Clutch player.
4-point game with 6.6 left. He's mad that he didn't get the first one, but the second one's the one they needed.
He's furious. He's furious. But you're right. They needed more.
The Pistons took the lead at 74-72 on Tayshaun Prince's three-pointer with about 1:40 left, but it's been the Pacers' 6 straight points since. Larry Bird is almost ready to smile. Let's check in with Jim Gray.
Well, Brad, in fact, he's had a perpetual smile on his face through Jermaine O'Neal's 2 misses and then Reggie Miller's miss. I just walked over there and asked him, how hard is it to watch this? He just shook his head with a big grin. He says, unbearable when they keep missing these free throws. But the smile hasn't left his face. He's telling Herb Simon, the owner standing right next to him, calm down, it'll be okay.
We'll see if that's true.
Yeah. I'm sure he's looking at 6 seconds, 4-point lead. It makes him a little more comfortable than he was 2 minutes ago.
That's right. Sports Center follows our game. You know, the Lakers and the Timberwolves are looking on going, wow.
This is good. Larry Brown is thinking turnovers. Turnovers.
Have killed him tonight. Prince to inbound again. Hamilton will have to go up. Nope, he's going to give it up to Wallace. And he missed a three. And the Pacers at home win game 1. A 7th game feel in a first game package. That's 8 straight playoff wins at home for the Pacers, 78-74. Let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Brad. He only had 6 points tonight and 1 field goal. How many times are you going to do this?
Well, you know, I got my hands full this series, you know, chasing a young Reggie Miller around. So it's like spending a lot of energy. But we have other guys that can put the ball in the hoop where I can kind of concentrate on Rip. It's a tough challenge, but as you know, I always like to save my best for last. And I had a lot of wide open looks early, and I really wasn't getting my legs into it. And I knew when the game was tied and we got this offensive rebound, I told Jeff, just put a body on Rip. All I need is a half a second of daylight, and I can hit down the shot, and that's exactly what I did.
Basketball fans everywhere have seen this for years. How do you do this?
Well, it's a lot of concentration, and you know, sometimes you got to play possum a little bit. You got to act like you're a little wounded, act like you're a little sore, act like you're a little old, and then you stab him in the back a little bit.
Reggie, congratulations. It was fun to see you again.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Joe.
All right, back to you, Brad.
It's amazing. Doc and I watched him the whole second half give up some open shots. We said he's going to wait for the right time. Did he ever? Final score again, the Pacers 78-74. Don't forget, Monday, 7:30, Game 2. Pistons and Pacers right here on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, Sports Center. Right now, for Michelle Tafoya, Jim Gray, Doc Rivers. From Indianapolis, Game 1 goes to the hometown Pacers, 78-74. Brad Nessler, good night, everybody.